How's everybody doing? My name is Kurt Friedrich and I'm the owner driver for CFRacing, and welcome to our March monthly update racing video. First off, I want to thank our sponsors, Tubi Gems, for their continued support. Tubi Gems is an online store that sells loose gemstones and also settings that don't have a gemstone already set in it for basically people from home that have kind of do-it-yourself projects. They can kind of create a custom work for themselves for their own projects. We also kind of have an update for our state of operations, if you will. Usually we just talk about stuff that we have going on, but the first video of the year we talked about the state of operations. We're going to continue talking about that for the next few months. As I stated in the last video, we are currently working on moving from here, High Point, North Carolina, to the Fort Lee area in Virginia. I do have a job there with the DOD. So this month we're still here. Month of April we'll be shooting from here, and then hopefully in May we'll be shooting from the Fort Lee area. So basically, I kind of consider myself have already moved out. The past 2 weeks I've been in Fort Lee on annual training for my Army Reserve job. On Monday I'm scheduled to swear in on my civilian job at Fort Lee. So once that happens, then I'll just be basically coming back and forth each weekend, coming home, work on the go-kart a little bit, check on the wife, check on the kids, make sure they're situated, and then go back to do my weekly work. We do have a house under contract up there, pretty decent sized house. It's going to have room for the wife and the kids. Also going to have room for the go-kart, and it's overall looks pretty good. So can't wait for the coming months to be able to shoot from, do some of the videos from the new place that we're getting. So with all that being said, we'll go ahead and hit the notes and start talking about what we've done over the past month. Again, since I've been out of town, really haven't had a whole lot completed, but still been getting done whatever I possibly can get done. So we'll go ahead and first section is talking about the body. So I only have one thing on the body, is that I've cleaned the floor panel. So clean the floor panel up. You see it is, as I've said in previous videos, we don't consider something installed until all the pieces that are supposed to be bolted on to that particular item are bolted on. So it is bolted onto the chassis, but there's still a few more pieces that need to be bolted onto the floor panel. So right now we're just calling it cleaned up. A lot done with the brakes. After I printed off my notes, I kind of wanted to change how I wanted to talk about it, so we're going to kind of go off script a little bit here. First part, we'll talk about the brake rod. First thing we did, we indexed the brake rod jam nuts. So I'm not sure if it shows up on the camera there, but you see that white paint right there. The jam nuts came right there, so I just kind of marked where that is, so that when I turn the jam nuts back onto the brake rod, I get it in its same location. We've removed the brake caliper bleed valves from the brake calipers. We removed the piston boot from the master cylinder. We've removed the brake pad bolts from the brake pads in the brake caliper. We've also removed the brake caliper pistons from the brake caliper. Here's one of the brake pads, the other one's sitting right there. Removed both brake pads from the brake caliper as well. We've removed the brake pedal grip from the brake pedal, if you will. We've also removed the brake rod clevis nuts, or clevises. These go on the brake rod right here, and the jam nut will tighten them down. We'll show that when we start doing the installation. We removed the brake lever from the master cylinder. This is the brake arm, lever arm piston, master cylinder cap, and also the master cylinder cover. So we removed a lot of pieces. Some of them have been cleaned up, some of them have not. We'll get to that here in a second. Actually, yeah, that's the next part. We've cleaned up the brake caliper shield. We've cleaned up the brake calipers, so they're all nice and clean. We've cleaned up the brake lines. We have cleaned up brake. We'll come back to the brake pad pistons. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the pistons. We've cleaned those up. We've also cleaned up the brake pads, and then also we have sanded the brake caliper shield for painting. It actually has had so we did that earlier on after the last video, and then it's been painted now on both sides. So just kind of letting the should be touching it, letting the paint cure, and then by the time we do the next video, we'll talk about how the painting on that is complete. And then also we've sanded the surface of the brake pads. Brake pads usually get kind of glazed over from heat, so anytime I take it off, you always want to just kind of sand the surface up and kind of scuff them up and kind of gives it kind of a new surface. So yeah, that's pretty much what we got done on the brakes. So quite a bit done on the brakes, and hopefully the next video we'll be able to show some of the stuff assembled on the brakes. We'll move on to the chassis. Only one thing that's complete on the chassis, and that's going to be the steering shaft is painted. You see it's also starting to be bolted onto the chassis. Tie rods are connected to it. And then we'll move back here to the drivetrain. We got both rear hubs installed. This is the right rear, the left rear is on the other side, and the rear axle painted. And here we go. Yeah, but we'll come back to this here in a second. Talking about safety, which involves pretty much the seat. Usually after the season we'll do a lot of work on the seat, repaint it, but this is a brand new seat. It's only got 2 races on it, so we basically just cleaned the seat up, and it's going to be ready to install here pretty soon. We've cleaned up the seat slide brackets, the seat strut bottoms, and also the seat struts. All 3 of those pieces have also been sanded for painting, and all 3 of those pieces, just like the brake shield, they're on their last coat of paint. So I'm just waiting for that paint to cure, and then we'll consider those complete and ready to start bolting on. So again, hopefully the next video next month we'll be able to start showing some of those pieces already installed. So yeah, that kind of sums up all the things that we have completed on the kart. So we'll talk about, that's what we've been working on. We'll talk about some upcoming projects. Probably this morning we had a thunderstorm roll through, so the trailer is kind of wet, and some of the holes that I've already got drilled in the wood are a little wet, so I wanted to let those dry out. I showed in a previous video where we got a cross section going on the back door. Those 2 pieces of cross section, those have been painted, and I'm hoping to bolt those onto the back door tomorrow. We'll show that completed on the next video, so that's part of the upcoming projects. Another big one, we're showing this axle here a minute. You see a lot of stuff has been attached to the axle. So not, a lot of things not able to say it's completed yet. So that's something else I will continue working on this month, and hopefully next month we'll be able to show that the axle's complete and installed here onto the chassis. How nicely that thing spins. And yeah, so now I'll talk about when we expect to return to the track. Before I was saying hopefully by the end of April. We're going to push that back, looking at, because of the move, looking at hopefully by the end of May, or I'm sorry, by the end of June or early July. I think last video I talked about how we speculate that may be a possibility. Well, I'm going to say now that that's what we're looking at, is end of June, early July. And over the next few weeks, I'll start. There's 3 tracks in the Fort Lee area that I've been researching. So one of them is asphalt, 2 of them are dirt. So I'll try to dig in and come up with a schedule where we'll be racing and what weekends we'll be running at those tracks. We are still looking for additional sponsorship, associate sponsor or primary sponsorship. As always, any sponsor that comes on board, we consider sponsor part of the team. So, you know, anybody out there who wants to get a little bit more brand awareness for their product, let us know. Reach out to us. We'll be glad to talk to you about details and be glad to help you promote your product. We are also looking for some hands-on help. Len Beck still has been coming out here and helping out a little bit. So we definitely want to say thanks for Len Beck for his help. But when we get up to Fort Lee, obviously we'll need a little bit of hands-on help up there. So anybody in that area who's watching this video, anybody interested in getting their hands dirty and having some fun doing some racing, let us know. We'll be glad to have you come out and help out. So last but not least, I want to thank my wife Malou for filming this video. And yeah, that's pretty much all we got for this month, for the month of March. So yeah, still a lot of personal stuff going on, but we're still moving forward with the go-kart, and can't wait to get back to the track. And hopefully next month we'll be able to show you a little bit more progress that's been made. So until then, you guys all have a good one, and we'll see you next month. Thanks.